I love working out of a tool chest. I was skeptical until I tried it, but the chest is better. Everything is in one place. I never lose tools, and I have a good reason to put my tools away. The chest keeps dust off my tools, and since dust absorbs water and salt from the air, it can make your tools rust. Really, dusty tools rust faster. That's one reason why old-time carpenters used tool chests. They protect your tools. For years, the gold standard was the cabinet maker's chest. This is a large chest with dovetailed corners all around, and a fancy lid with frame and panel construction. Inside, the chest has these sliding tills that hold all your little tools and move back and forth so you can get to the big tools underneath. It's genius. And it's a long and complicated project. Chris Schwartz details the entire thing in his book, The Anarchist's Tool Chest, which is a fantastic read. Chris also has a plywood version of that chest and a much simpler Dutch tool chest. But honestly, I think a lot of us need a smaller, simpler tool chest that's even easier to build. And speaking of simple tool chests, my folks own a farm in Connecticut, and a couple years ago I was poking around in their barn and I found this old carpenter's chest. And my parents definitely didn't want it, so I brought it home and put my tools in it, and I've been working out of this chest for the past 3 years. And I love it. It doesn't take up a ton of space, but it still holds a nice big kit of tools. It's made totally out of pine, so it's really inexpensive, and all of the joinery is nails and screws, so it's not complicated. This is a chest that even a beginner could build. The whole thing is made from white pine, the cheapest wood you can get at the big box store. We took the original design and changed it just a little bit so you can make all the parts with 1x8, 1x6, and 1x3 lumber. We're just going to glue up those sizes in different combinations. So there's very little ripping or trimming in this build. I stacked and stickered the wood and let it dry for 2 weeks. You have to do that with cheap wood. It's still pretty wet when you get it home from the store. Some of the pieces did cup a little bit during drying, so I'm giving everything a quick flattening, but I'm not being super picky. The whole point is to get it flat enough to glue up and not waste time. After that, each piece gets a quick jointing, double check the edge for square, and get ready to glue the pieces together. You want enough glue to cover the edge, but keep it light so the boards don't slide around during clamping. 1 clamp in the middle and then 1 to either side. Even for these long pieces, 3 clamps is plenty. The ends of the chest are made from short boards, so this is a great time to cut around knots and other big flaws. You need 4 of these short pieces, so think ahead and use boards that aren't good for the longer stuff. And as you finish each part, just stack them off to the side. Keep your bench clear so you can keep working. After the parts dry overnight, you've got a front, a back, a lid, the bottom in 2 pieces, and 2 end boards. Now I'm going to flatten everything. I hate doing things twice, so I plane the bare minimum before gluing up. But after the glue is dry, I'm much more picky. This is casework, and we need flat components with uniform thickness. As you work, you can use the edge of your plane to check for flatness. This board has a lot of cup, so I'm going to focus my planing on those high edges. If the board has a lot of problems, you might want to traverse it. Going across the grain can level out a wavy board with less effort. The work holding is easier than you might think. Just clamp any old scrap to the edge of your bench, push the board against it, and give the work a firm shove into your planing stop. And with only 2 points of contact, you can work across your board aggressively. This board is flat, but I got a little tear out from the traversing. 1 pass with the smoothing plane cleans it right up. It's important to get the ends of each part square. For each piece, mark your ends from the same edge and drop it in the vise. For the long parts, you can rest one end on the floor, then just plane right across that end grain until you're down to your lines. Take your time with this part. Small errors can really add up when you're assembling the case. These short ends can also be annoying to face plane, especially if I want to set the edge against the planing stop. The board keeps wanting to fall off the bench. Just open your vise a few inches. That supports the board, and you can get on with planing. When your parts are trimmed, test them like this. The grain on your front and back pieces goes side to side, but your ends go up and down. So the height of your ends should be the width of your front and back. Stack them up and let your fingertips tell you if they're even. This chest is made with board and batten construction. The horizontal pieces are boards, obviously, and these verticals here are called battens. When you nail or screw a batten across a big solid wood board like this, the batten holds it flat. Board and batten construction allows you to make a big piece of casework like this without worrying that it's going to twist out of shape over time. And as a bonus, it's also very easy to build. The battens are sawn from plain 1x3 lumber, but all those sharp edges from the mill would chip and splinter over time, so these parts need to be chamfered for durability. Take your plane and nip off the corner of your batten like this, then you can put it in the vise and plane the end grain with your plane skewed. Once you've got a nice wide chamfer, flip the board and chamfer the long grain. Chamfering the end grain can chip the corners, even if you're careful, but you'll plane away any damage when you do the long edges. As you're working, watch your corners. When they make a neat 45-degree angle, your bevels are even. Shoot the ends of each batten to clean up your saw cuts, but you're still going to have this sharp little corner here. So hang that corner off the edge of your shooting board and use the plane to trim it off until you've got a nice flat spot, like this. And as you finish each piece, write a label on the underside. The battens are different lengths, and everything is in the plans, but you're making a bunch of pieces, so it's easy to lose track of where they go. Now we've made all the pieces and we're ready to start assembling the case. We could just take the front and the back and the ends and nail them together and then screw the battens on. But instead, we're going to add the battens to each of the long pieces first. That's going to give us like a big rabbet joint at each corner, and that's going to make assembly much, much easier, especially if you've never nailed together a piece of furniture before. The battens have to hang over the edge of the boards, and holding them on the ends of the boards while we screw them in would be pretty tough. Let's make a quick jig. I'll screw one board to the bench top and then tack on this other piece. When I drill my holes and screw on my battens, I'll get the perfect overhang, and all my parts will come together just right. And yes, I am putting those screws in with a brace. This white pine is soft, and a power driver is probably going to strip the screw holes. A brace gives you plenty of torque, but also enough feedback to know when the screw is tight. And when all of your battens are screwed in place, you can do a quick test assembly. You only need 2 clamps to hold the case together, and then you can check and make sure everything is square. At this point in the build, it's still easy to make adjustments. Now, let's nail the case together. Except that nails are weird and unfamiliar. I mean, who builds furniture with nails anyway? A lot of people, actually. There's a lot of great old furniture built with nails. They give a surprisingly strong connection that's flexible, and they're quicker than screws because you don't have to drill a hole or a countersink or anything. You do need to practice driving nails before you nail your chest together, but it's really easy. So get your nail right on your piece. We're going to nail a flat piece to an edge, just like we're going to do in the actual build, and give it a couple of taps to set it. Just like that. And then you can look at it real quick and see if it looks straight, and it does. So support your work and give it a couple of firm hits. Now, one thing that's super cool about nails is that they're actually kind of self-straightening. As long as you're hitting the nail flat on, it wants to go in straight. It's amazing. So you just need to make sure that your hammer swing ends up parallel to the ground, like this, and you can actually see nails straighten themselves out as you drive them in. And then, as you hit it, you can hear the pitch of the noise going up. Listen. So when you hear that pitch climbing, that tells you that the nail is going in correctly. And now we're almost down to the end, and I'm going to drive it very carefully so I don't get any hammer marks in the surface of my work. And there we go, a nice flush nail. Do that 2 or 3 times and you know everything there is to know about nailing your work together, and we're ready to assemble our chest. Put the backboard in the vise with one end resting on the ground, and then we're going to nail on the end piece. But it's a little difficult to keep square. So grab a piece of scrap in a screw clamp and make yourself a quick stock rest. Move it out and it'll hold up the other end while you nail right through the batten into the backboard. Even if you've never hit a nail before, sink these first 4 nails and I promise you'll be feeling much more confident. After both ends are nailed to the back, slide in the front and nail that in place. And if you're getting a little lost, the plans have all the details on putting these pieces together. It's not complicated. And this case is actually nailed together in 2 directions. It's nailed together this way and then back towards me, because nailing things together in 2 directions is stronger. I put my case flat on a pair of saw benches because it's easier to hammer if the case is a little bit lower. The exact location of your nails doesn't matter, but while you're sinking the second set of nails, stay away from the ones you already put in. This should be obvious, but you can't drive 2 nails in the same place. When we look back at the old chest, every detail is really well thought out and clever, except for the bottom. The original builder used a single piece of solid wood for the bottom and then surrounded it by the 4 walls of the case. If you've ever built anything out of solid wood before, you know you can't put a piece of solid wood inside a rigid frame with no room for expansion and contraction. Eventually, that wood is going to expand and the frame is going to break. And that's exactly what happened here. That bottom piece expanded in humid weather and it split the 2 pieces of this end apart. And that really defeats the purpose of the chest because that's going to let in air and dust. So when we make the bottom for our chest, we're going to build in an expansion joint. The best way to do that would be to have 2 boards and then put a tongue and groove joint in between them. But I don't own tongue and groove planes, and I bet a lot of you don't either, so we're going to use something almost as good, the poor man's tongue and groove. It's called shiplap. This is why we left the bottom in 2 pieces. We're going to run a rabbet on the edge of one board and a matching rabbet on the edge of the other board. When we put the 2 together, we'll have a joint that allows the bottom to expand and contract while staying pretty airtight. After the shiplap is done, check the width of your bottom. It's probably going to be about 3/4 of an inch too wide. I trimmed that off with a draw knife and a jack plane, and now I'm ready to fit the bottom. Driving that second set of nails pushed my case a little bit out of square, so I threw a bar clamp across 2 corners and squeezed it back into shape. The first bottom board is a tight fit, but it also pushes the case square again. The second board drops right in and I can nail the bottom in place. Then I can add the final battens across the bottom. I'm putting these in with screws and my impact because they aren't structural. These battens just keep the bottom of the chest off the floor in case it's damp or wet. The battens are meant to rot, so the bottom doesn't. They're easy to replace if they ever get damaged. And to finish up the bottom, I'm going to nail it through the sides of the case. I made it almost to the end of this project without messing up any of the nails, but I blew this one out right through the bottom. I guess if you're going to mess one up, this is the place. If a nail goes bad, the important thing is to stop hitting it before you sink it all the way. Grab the nail head with your hammer's claw, put a little padding under the head, and just pull it out gently. Round nails come out very gracefully. Don't try to reuse the old hole, just move over a little bit and drive a fresh nail. That little bit of splintered wood is going to be easy to glue back down. No one will ever see it. Now, I glued my top together earlier, but I didn't put on the battens. So now I can measure the top of my case, trim the top to fit, and then add the battens, and the chest is nearly done. When I first brought this chest back from my folks' place, I thought, oh, I'm gonna put a sliding till in that thing for storage. So I built this thing, and the idea was it fills half the case, and I can slide it back and forth to get the stuff underneath. And that never worked out. This thing's the wrong shape, and the case isn't a great shape, so sliding it is really difficult. It just binds up, and it's way too big, and I ended up just dumping a bunch of crap in there. And looking at it now, basically all the stuff from here all the way to the end is stuff I never use. So this was a terrible idea, and for our chest, we want to put in some storage that's smaller, but also more effective. This style of till is very easy to build, even after the case is assembled, so you can build the whole project and then decide if you want to add some more storage. The till is mostly screwed together and then nailed through the front and back of the case with finish nails. It's simple, but there are a few things to watch for. You want to be able to get your planes under the till, so test that while you're putting it in. The lid needs a bit of a round over, and you can just plane that into the corner, and then the hinges are going to be attached to this little strip behind the lid. This way, there's no mortising or anything, and the hinges are super easy to install. And the way the chest lid hangs over the case, the till lid would hit it when you opened it. So I cut the till lid a little bit short, and I added this filler strip. I traced it to match the curve of the lid, gave it a round over, and tacked it in place. And to finish the chest, we just need hardware. These strap hinges are just like on the original chest, but the hinge barrels can't be on the inside. They'd hit the corner of the chest, so they need to be reversed, but then they won't close to 90 degrees. No problem, you can just grab them and squeeze them to 90 degrees by hand. Then they're perfect. And make sure you get hinges with screws. I didn't, so I spent a good half hour digging through the random hardware jar until I found enough screws to get these in. And the last thing is a lock hasp. Even if you never plan to lock your chest, the hasp also gives you a handle for opening and closing the lid, and it keeps the chest shut when you move it. It's worth the 5 minutes it takes to install. I like this chest because I've already been using the old one for years. It's a good size and shape, and it keeps a surprising amount of tools clean and free of dust. The construction is pretty basic, and it's not a long project. You could probably knock this out in a weekend, and adding the till really increases the storage, especially for small tools that get lost easily. If your shop is disorganized or you're losing tools a lot, building a chest can really help. It's helped me a lot. Once your tool chest is done, you will be amazed at the amount of stuff you can get in here. Planes, saws, joinery planes, chisels. It fits a lot of tools. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to do an additional build video where I show you how to outfit your chest to hold your toolkit. We'll build a rack for chisels, a holder to keep your back saws safe. I'll show you what I'm going to keep in the till and what goes in the main compartment. So look out for that video in a couple of weeks. And in the meantime, you should build your chest. If you'd like to build it, we have a full set of plans. They're very long and detailed, full color, and they include metric measurements. And you can grab those at rexkrueger.com/store. Also, I used saw benches a ton in this build. Not just for sawing wood, but I also put 2 of them together and used them as a low assembly table, which was convenient and really saved my back. If you get our saw bench plans, there's already plans in there for 2 saw benches. So just build both of them and you get an assembly table. And I keep my saw bench under my workbench when I'm not using it, so it doesn't even take up any space in the shop. Patreon.com/RexKrueger. My patrons already got these plans for free. They got the saw bench plans for free. They get all the plans for free. Plus the Woodwork for Humans discussion forum, everything free. They get early access and discounts to Compass Rose releases. It's a lot of stuff for $5 a month. So go on over there and check out all the things we do for the people who make this content possible. We'd never be here without the patrons, and we'd never be here without our viewers. We appreciate you. Thanks so much for watching.